10,000 roses. That is what it takes to produce a single 30-milliliter bottle of Absolute, the concentrated essence that makes a $50,000 perfume possible. Grasse, France, the perfume capital of the world for over 400 years. Inside this region's factories, flowers become fragrance, through processes unchanged since the Renaissance. Every drop in that bottle carries the essence of thousands of flowers, harvested at dawn, processed within hours, and blended by a master perfumer whose nose is insured for millions. Grasse's perfume houses blend centuries-old stone architecture with modern extraction technology. Traditional workshops operating alongside stainless steel equipment that would feel at home in a pharmaceutical plant. From 10,000 flowers to 30 milliliters of liquid gold. This is how roses become the world's most expensive fragrance. This facility processes over 200 tons of flowers annually, transforming petals into absolutes and essential oils worth more per ounce than gold. The global fragrance industry consumes 4,000 tons of rose petals annually, enough to fill 40 Olympic swimming pools with flowers. And roses are just one of hundreds of natural ingredients. Every ingredient batch is tested before entering production. Gas chromatography verifies the chemical fingerprint matches the expected profile, catching adulteration or degradation before it reaches the perfumer's organ. The finest ingredients come from specific microclimates: Grasse roses, Bulgarian damascena, Indian jasmine. Terroir matters in perfumery as much as winemaking. The factory sits among its own fields. Roses must be processed within 3 hours of harvest, or their volatile compounds begin degrading irreversibly. Grasse has produced perfume since the 16th century, originally to scent leather gloves. The craft evolved over 4 centuries into the precise science of modern fragrance extraction. Centifolia roses bloom for just 3 to 4 weeks in May, picked each morning between 5 and 10 before the sun volatilizes their fragrant oils. Each harvester picks 5 kilograms per H-hour. Over 1,000 blooms. Roses must be pinched, not cut. Scissors bruise petals and release oils prematurely. The centifolia, the 100-petaled rose, is grown almost exclusively for perfumery. Its complex layered bloom produces an aroma no synthetic molecule has ever replicated. Aromatic compounds concentrate at the petal base in microscopic oil glands. When a rose is bruised or heated, these glands rupture, releasing the volatile molecules that create the signature scent. 4 rose varieties dominate perfumery: Grasse centifolia for honeyed richness, Bulgarian damascena for fresh brightness, Taif rose for its rare spicy complexity. The receiving technician grades each morning's delivery within minutes. Petal condition, fragrance intensity, and bloom maturity all affect the quality of the finished Absolute. Inferior lots are processed separately. Every minute between harvest and processing costs quality. Volatile top notes evaporating in warming air. The truck drives less than 2 kilometers to the factory. Over 1,000 kilograms of petals arrive each morning during peak harvest, weighed, logged, and transferred to extraction within 30 minutes. Sorting removes leaves, stems, and damaged blooms. Foreign material introduces bitter notes into the finished Absolute. Solvent extraction captures the complete aromatic profile. Heaviest waxes to lightest top notes preserved in the finished Absolute. Each extractor holds 500 kilograms of petals. Hexane circulates through the mass, dissolving aromatic compounds, waxes, and pigments. The solvent turns from clear to deep amber as it absorbs the rose's essence. Multiple wash cycles over 6 to 8 hours extract progressively more aromatic material. Spent petals emerge pale and nearly odorless, their aromatic soul transferred into the solvent. The exhausted flowers are composted and returned to the rose fields as fertilizer. Vacuum evaporation removes hexane below 40 degrees, preserving delicate molecules destroyed by higher heat. The solvent is recycled. From petal to Absolute, 5 processing stages over 3 days. 1,000 kilograms of roses become 3 kilograms of concrete, which yields roughly 1.5 kilograms of Absolute. Rose concrete, the waxy paste after solvent removal, contains both precious aromatic molecules and plant waxes that must be separated before use in perfumery. Ethanol dissolves the aromatics while leaving waxes behind. Multiple cold filtrations at -20 degrees progressively remove every trace of wax, purifying the extract. Each filtration cycle removes finer wax particles. The final pass produces crystal clear golden liquid, rose Absolute dissolved in ethanol, ready for concentration. Final evaporation removes ethanol and leaves pure rose absolute, so concentrated that a single drop perfumes an entire room for hours. 30 milliliters of rose absolute, the complete aromatic essence of 10,000 centifolia roses. At current prices, this small bottle is worth over $8,000. Solvent extraction is 10 times more efficient than steam distillation, but produces a different product. The choice between methods depends on the desired aromatic character, not just economics. Steam distillation produces rose essential oil rather than absolute, volatile molecules carried through a condenser and collected as oil floating on water. Quality varies daily based on weather, soil moisture, and bloom maturity. The quality perfumer evaluates each batch against reference standards. Only consistent absolute earns the highest grade certification. The copper still heats water beneath fresh petals. Rising steam penetrates the flower mass, carrying volatile molecules upward through the swan neck into the cooling condenser. The distillate separates in the Florentine flask, rose oil floating above rose water. The oil layer is millimeters thick. 5 tons of petals yield roughly 1 kilogram of essential oil. Absolute captures the complete rose, including heavy molecules. Steam cannot carry. Essential oil contains only volatiles. Perfumers choose between them depending on the effect needed. Rose water, the aqueous byproduct, is itself valuable. Used in skincare, Middle Eastern cuisine, and traditional medicine for centuries, it generates additional revenue from the same harvest. The house library preserves formulas from previous masters, each recipe a window into the aesthetic and ingredient palette of its era. New perfumers study these to understand the traditions they inherit. Jasmine runs alongside rose in the calendar. Harvested at night when fragrance peaks, jasmine absolute requires over 8,000 flowers per illiliter, even more labor-intensive than rose. Jasmine must be picked at night. Scent compounds peak between midnight and 2 in the morning. By sunrise, over half the volatile molecules have evaporated. Beyond roses and jasmine, the facility processes over 30 botanicals. Iris root must dry for 3 years before extraction. Vetiver roots are distilled for over 24 hours. Iris Absolute, Orris Butter, requires the longest preparation of any fragrance material. Rhizomes dry 3 to 5 years before the key molecule iran reaches sufficient concentration. Vetiver distillation runs for over 24 hours, the longest of any common ingredient. The earthy, woody oil anchors hundreds of men's fragrances and provides the foundation note in many luxury compositions. Nothing is wasted in fragrance production. Rose water, orange blossom hydrosol, and lavender water are all valuable byproducts. The extraction process generating multiple revenue streams from each botanical harvest. The perfumer's organ, over 1,000 ingredients arranged by the master's personal system. Each bottle contains an absolute essential oil or synthetic molecule, memorized by scent. A trained nose distinguishes over 3,000 ingredients and recalls formulas containing hundreds of components. Creating a new perfume takes months or years. The perfumer tests combinations on paper strips, never on skin during formulation, as body chemistry alters the profile. A master's formula sheet records months of creative iteration. Each red ink adjustment represents a test batch, sometimes dozens of revisions before the perfumer declares the composition finished. Every perfume follows 3 tiers. Top notes create the first impression. Hard notes define character. Base notes provide the lasting foundation. A luxury formula may contain over 100 ingredients, each to tenths of a gram. Changing one component by 1% alters the entire character. Blending follows strict order. Base notes first, heart notes second, top notes last. Heavier molecules integrate before volatiles are added. Skin testing reveals how the formula performs in real use. Body heat and chemistry alter the scent profile. A formula perfect on paper may need adjustment once, tested on skin. A perfume tells a story over time. The opening burst fades within 30 minutes as heart notes emerge. After an hour, the base notes, the slowest to develop, define the lasting impression. Maceration ages the blend in darkness for 4 to 12 weeks. Like wine, perfume improves as molecules interact and edges soften. Post-maceration filtration removes sediment formed during aging. The filtered concentrate is optically clear, essential for luxury perfumes in transparent crystal bottles. The concentrate is diluted with pharmaceutical-grade ethanol. The dilution ratio determines the product category. Perfume at 20 to 40% lasts over 12 hours. AD Toilette at 5 to 15% fades after 4. Concentration drives price. Scaling from laboratory to production is deceptively complex. A formula that works perfectly at 100 grams may behave differently at 100 kilograms. Temperature, mixing speed, and addition order all affect the final scent. The bottling hall transforms liquid into luxury. Crystal bottles and packaging communicating exclusivity before the first spritz. Crystal bottles are inspected individually. A single bubble or scratch rejects the vessel. Luxury packaging must be flawless. Precision filling within half a milliliter. Overfilling wastes product worth hundreds per liter. Underfilling triggers regulatory violations. The spray pump crimp creates a hermetic seal, preventing evaporation and oxidation. A properly sealed bottle maintains its scent profile for 5 to 10 years. Every spray mechanism is tested. The pump must deliver a consistent volume with a symmetrical cone pattern. A misdirecting spray wastes product and frustrates consumers. Bottle caps alone can cost more than the fragrance inside. Hand-applied gold leaf, crystal stoppers, or jeweled caps for limited editions. Packaging is part of the luxury experience. Magnetic closures, embossed logos, satin linings, every packaging detail engineered for the unboxing moment. Crystal houses like Baccarat and Lalique create bottles that become collector's items. The vessel, sometimes worth more than the fragrance, displayed as art long after the perfume is finished. A fragrance brief launches every new creation. The brand defines the desired character, fresh and aquatic, warm and oriental, floral and feminine, and the perfumer translates words into scent. The Grasse perfume region holds UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status, recognizing cultivation, extraction, and formulation skills developed over 4 centuries. Gas chromatography separates perfume into individual molecules. The fingerprint verifies every batch, matches the approved formula. Rose Absolute contains over 400 individual molecules. No synthetic recreation has replicated this complexity. The reason natural absolute commands prices synthetics cannot approach. Instrumental analysis catches chemical deviations, but the final quality gate is human. A trained evaluation panel smelling each batch against the approved reference to verify it matches the intended scent. 8 million jasmine flowers per kilogram of absolute. 3 tons of iris root per kilogram of orris butter. These ratios drive luxury pricing. EFRO restricts over 200 ingredients. A single restricted molecule above threshold blocks the entire batch from market. Accelerated aging simulates years at retail. The scent must remain consistent for at least 36 months. Every export market requires different labeling. EU allergen declarations, US FDA cosmetic registration, Middle Eastern halal certification. A single formula may need 12 different label variants. Research continuously improves extraction efficiency. New parameters capture molecules previous methods missed, advancing the art of fragrance, one incremental improvement at a time. The facility produces for multiple luxury houses under contract, creating fragrances for brands competing against each other at retail. Perfume ships as a dangerous good, high alcohol content requiring hazmat documentation, special packaging, and authorized carriers. Air freight limits, batch sizes. Per shipment, from Grasse factory to department store counter, the finished perfume travels thousands of kilometers in climate. Controlled conditions to arrive at retail in perfect condition. The economics of luxury perfume. Raw materials represent 15 to 20% of retail price. Marketing and packaging together exceed 50%. In luxury, perception is value. Synthetics complement naturals. ISO-E, super, ambroxan, and hedione add dimensions. Impossible with naturals alone. Natural musk from the endangered musk deer is now illegal. Synthetic musks provide the same warm base without harming wildlife. Orris butter at up to $100,000 per kilogram is the most expensive fragrance material on Earth. Synthetic iris costs a fraction, but lacks the richness, making natural orris irreplaceable. Supercritical COA extraction. Pressurized carbon dioxide dissolving aromatics at low temperature with zero solvent residue. The result is closer to the living flower's scent than any other method. Water recycling reduces consumption by 60%. Distillation and cleaning require enormous volumes. Treating and reusing processed water is both an environmental and economic necessity. Accords, pre-blended combinations, are the perfumer's building blocks. A rose accord might combine rose absolute with geranium, citronellol, and a trace of honey to create a rose impression richer than the absolute alone. Headspace analysis captures a living flower scent without picking it. A glass dome traps volatiles which are analyzed and recreated, a technique for developing natural, identical accords. Enfleurage layers fresh flowers on frames of purified fat. The fat absorbs fragrance over days before ethanol washing yields an absolute of extraordinary delicacy. 4 centuries of extraction evolution. Modern techniques coexist because each produces subtly different results. Fewer than 500 master perfumers work worldwide, each carrying an irreplaceable library of scent memories that no instrument can replicate. All operations run simultaneously during peak season. Extraction, distillation, formulation, and bottling overlapping, as the harvest drives an urgency lasting only weeks. The rose harvest waits for no one. 3 to 4 weeks of blooming per year. Every kilogram must be processed within hours, or its aromatic value diminishes irreversibly. Weather, soil moisture, and harvest time all affect the profile. The technician adjusts parameters to compensate. The ingredient vault holds absolutes from multiple harvests, some aged years for deeper complexity. Vintage rose absolute from exceptional harvests commands premiums like fine wine. Daily production reviews maintain standards across thousands of bottles. A deviation in extraction yield or bottling reject rate triggers investigation before the next morning's harvest arrives. Cold storage preserves the most delicate ingredients. Jasmine concrete and tuberose absolute degrade at room temperature, maintained below 5 degrees until needed for extraction or formulation. The botanical calendar drives the factory's rhythm. Each flower dictates its own harvest window, creating waves of extraction activity that peak in summer and quiet in winter. Like wine, Rose Absolute expresses its vintage. The 2019 harvest developed exceptional depth from an unusually warm spring. Perfumers request specific vintages for their unique character. Training a nose takes 10 to 15 years. Students memorize over 3,000 ingredients through daily olfactory exercises. Building the scent library their career depends upon. Sustainable sourcing is existential for perfumery. Climate change threatens the microclimates producing the world's finest flowers, making environmental investment a business necessity. The first independent composition is a milestone. After years of memorizing ingredients, the student finally creates, translating an imagined scent into a physical formula for the first time. The luxury perfume market is built on heritage brands, whose formulations span decades, each bottle connecting consumers to a tradition of craftsmanship that began in these grass halls. The archive holds retained samples from every batch, an olfactory history spanning decades. Perfumers reference these samples to understand how formulas age and evolve over years. Decades of creation captured in crystal. Each bottle represents thousands of hours of development, from the first brief through hundreds of test iterations to the final approved formula. Rose cultivation is inherently sustainable. Perennial plants producing for decades, compost enriching soil, fields providing pollinator habitat. The challenge is protecting these traditional farming communities. As the day's harvest ends, tomorrow's roses continue opening, the cycle repeating for 3 to 4 precious weeks until the last centifolia bloom fades and the extraction hall falls quiet. Fair trade partnerships sustain the farming communities. Guaranteed prices and long-term contracts give growers the security to maintain rose fields, rather than converting to more immediately profitable crops. European regulations require declaring 26 allergens above threshold. Natural rose absolute alone triggers several, making regulatory compliance a constant formulation consideration. Cellophane wrapping provides tamper evidence. Consumers expect an unbroken seal confirming the product hasn't been opened since leaving the factory. Color stability matters in transparent bottles. UV exposure darkens many natural ingredients, requiring UV filtering glass or stabilizing additives to maintain the visual appeal throughout shelf life. Every quality complaint is investigated. Retained samples from every production batch allow comparison years after manufacture, identifying whether an issue originated in production or post-sale storage. The last rose extraction of the season. When these petals are processed, the extraction hall falls quiet until next May. 11 months of waiting for 3 weeks of flower. Climate-controlled shipping protects perfume from temperature extremes. A container left in direct sun can reach 60 degrees, hot enough to permanently alter the fragrance inside every bottle. The master perfumer, decades of training, 3,000 scents memorized, hundreds of formulas created. Her nose is the most valuable instrument in the building. 10,000 roses, one bottle, 400 years of tradition, from a petal plucked at dawn to a fragrance lasting hours on skin. The most ephemeral material becoming the most enduring luxury. That is how 10,000 roses become one bottle of perfume, harvested at dawn, extracted within hours, aged for months, and blended by a nose trained over a decade. This landscape created a $60 billion global industry. The microclimate, the soil, the centuries of accumulated expertise, grass remains irreplaceable as the spiritual and technical heart of perfumery. From a single flower to a $50,000 fragrance, shaped by 4 centuries of tradition and a master perfumer's nose that remembers 3,000 scents by heart. If this journey fascinated you, subscribe and hit the bell. Next time, we're heading inside a factory where premium cocoa beans become $100 chocolate bars.